Sherlock Holmes, Crimes and Punishments tries to learn from its past to make an accessible detective game, and that's probably one of its greatest strengths, but it's also its greatest weakness. Sherlock is broken into 6 cases, each with their own mystery to solve. The fun thing about this is each case is actually varied, though all but one is a murder case. There's a case of the guy that's impaled by a harpoon on the wall, a locked room murder case in a Greek bath, not that kind of bathhouse, a classic vanishing train case, and so on. But they are full of mystery, and often, until the end, the actual bad guy isn't fully known without some good thinking to be done. Most take about 2 to 3 hours to complete, besides for the 4th case, the Abbey Granger affair. This is surprisingly short and feels more like filler rather than a full-fledged mystery. Also, it ends on a major cliche. It was the only case I got wrong, because I really didn't want the cliche to be correct, but it was. Luckily, you can change your answer in the end if you don't mind a little spoiler. I spoiled the crap out of each case, but only once did I really matter. Finding all the clues and figuring out who the baddie was wasn't really that hard by the end of the case. Because each case is separated, there isn't any glue holding them together, besides for the simple fact that Holmes, Watson, and Lestrade are in most cases doing detective-like things. And on top of that, when a case comes to a logical conclusion, basically you follow all the clues to their end, the case's stories seem to just peter out. Most cases, if not all, end in this kind of strange dull spot, and my interest to solve the next case is what got me to move on, not the mysteries or the story itself. As for replayability, there are multiple endings for each case, and a moral system to decide if you should want to condemn or absolve a culprit, but most aren't more than a slight dialogue change, unless you actually get the bad guy where the end tends to slightly vary. At first I was excited to see all the endings, but by the 4th case, all I want to do is to get the bad guy and be done with it. As for the characters, the writing is well done and tends to not feel like an adventure game talking, most of the time.
All right, my fine fellow. Who are you and what are you doing here?
You're detectives, I suppose. You imagine that I'm connected with the death of Captain Carey. I assure you I'm innocent.
Sherlock and Watson are the only consistent characters throughout the whole game, and luckily they are both well written and well voice acted, probably one of the game's strongest suits.
You mean...
Yes, it is murder.
We should inform Lestrade.
Yes, but do remember, Watson, that I discovered the murder. The challenge is mine.
The challenge, Holmes?
We need to locate that deadly plant. Such a perfect murder appeals to me.
Murder of any kind appeals to you. You're enjoying this already, aren't you?
More than a little.
Visually, this game is a great step up from Frogware's last game, Testament of Sherlock Holmes. Each case has its own unique feel, and it's wonderfully detailed to make sure you look through everything to find those precious clues. Control-wise, this game is so much better compared to Testament's. Holy shit. That alone helped me give it a better score. Not only that, but the puzzles actually make sense, and if they are a little bit obtuse, the game will give you little verbal hints on what to do next. There are only a few puzzles that stumped me, and it was because they were environment ones where I couldn't find the right button to push, rather than the puzzle that just made no sense in the first place. As for the puzzles, expect to pick a lot of locks, look up and down people to get that extra little detail you need for dialogue, and to feel slightly pervy, and to play this imaginary game that lets you figure out the order that things happen, and to use Sherlock Vision to find those hidden clues. Puzzles, character profiles, QT, mini-games, all of them can be skipped with the press of a touchpad. So if you're stumped or simply lazy in your second playthrough, just push away. The most active puzzle in the game is a deduction board. It's where you take clues and try to make sense of it all. In the end, a culprit will be found. The cool thing about this part is as long as you're paying attention during a case, following its logic makes sense and it's actually kind of fun. But this is one puzzle in the game that doesn't hold your hand and expects you to be able to come to your own proper conclusion. Oh, but a warning to the people that hate load screen. There are a ton in this game, and in some cases you'll be switching from places so consistently that you basically just stare at Holmes' pretty face for long stretches of game life. Example, investigate dead body, get key to pawn shop, go to pawn shop, examine boots, leave, talk to police officer, go back to pawn shop, pick up boots, then go back to the place where you used the boot. Just be ready for it, because they're everywhere, and some take as long as 1 minute to load. You can use the casebook or deduction board while you're loading, but in most cases, I was doing that in the game anyway, so it ended up just looking out the window of the carriage instead. The game has a feeling of wanting to be an episodic download that's sold at full price at retail. I give the game a 3.5 out of 5. I really wish the story was more interconnected as Testament was, instead of all loosey-goosey as it is. But who doesn't want to be as smart as Holmes once in a while?
It's over, Holmes. We can do nothing for him now.
Here is a case that didn't end as I had expected. It is entirely my fault.